Hello, I'm Steve from Crime Points for You. In this channel, we will examine unsolved crime case. Stay with me.
Crime Point for You. Subscribe now.
In this video, we will examine the most famous unsolved crime case, the Villisca Axe Murder. On a quiet summer night in June 1912, the small town of Villisca changed forever. 8 people, including 6 children, were found murdered in their home. No arrest, no convictions, only the question that linger more than a century later. This is chilling mystery of the Villisca Axe Murders. Stay with me.
When an entire family is wiped out by an axe murderer on a June evening in 1912, a small Iowa town spirals into chaos and division. Following just 2 months after the sinking of the Titanic, the still unsolved crime built and ruined political careers, created a lasting community split over the guilt or innocence of a local man, a state senator, and produced dozens of litigations, including 3 of America's most sensational trials.
The Villisca Axe Murder.
Josiah Moore, then 34, was one of the town's most prominent businessmen who had secured a franchise to the booming John Deere Company. Previously, he'd worked 9 years for Frank Jones, the owner of a hardware and agricultural supply store. Josiah married Sarah Montgomery on December 6 of 1899 at the home of her parents. Like the extended Moore family, they had Villisca from Illinois. By 1912, they had 4 children: Herman, 11, Catherine, 10, Arthur, and Paul, 5. On Sunday, June 9th, the family and the Stillinger sisters attended a special evening children's program at the newly constructed Presbyterian Church, just a 5-minute walk from the Moore house. Around 6 p.m., Josiah called the Stillinger family home and asked their oldest sister, Blanche, if the girls could stay overnight. The Moore family and the 2 girls got to the Moore house sometime after 9:30 p.m. It's unclear if they ate or drank anything once they arrived home. The Moores had added a twin bed into the downstairs sewing room so that Catherine, their only daughter, the Stillinger girls slept there, wedged together in a single twin bed. Catherine joined her brothers in an upstairs bedroom next to their parents. Sometime after midnight, someone wielding an axe attacked JB first. Sarah was next, and like the rest of the victims, she was bludgeoned only with the blunt end of the axe. Leaving the parents dead, the murderer went into the adjacent room and killed the 4 more children, then headed down to the parlor bedroom where he killed the Stillinger sisters. Then, in a chilling encore, the murderer went back upstairs and savagely attacked the already dead bodies of the Moore family, whacking Josiah an estimated 30 times and rendering the other victims' faces unidentifiable with further beating. He took such ferocious swings, it left marks on the walls and ceilings. Then, the killer walked around the home, ritualistically covering all the mirrors, a common practice during wakes and funerals at the time, and covered the victims with pieces of cloth or clothing. He closed all the window blinds, and on the 2 windows without them, draped pieces of the family clothing. He returned to the girls' room downstairs, where he left the axe ache, believed taken from the Moore's own coal shed, and leaned it up against the wall. He washed his hands in a pail of water, locking the door with a house key behind him, around 5 a.m. The Moore's next-door neighbor, Mary Peckin, went out to hang laundry around 5 a.m., just as the sun was rising. By 7 a.m., she became increasingly concerned. Their horses were restless, and the other animals hadn't been fed. She knocked. Disturbed by the stillness, she attempted to look in the windows, but all the curtains were closed. She tried both the front and back doors. Both were locked. Concerned, she called JB's brother's home and spoke to his wife. Was it possible the Moores were ill? Was Josiah's father was ill? She called his store, and he wasn't there either. At 8:15 a.m., she got hold of his brother Ross, who arrived and let himself in with a key. At first, Ross saw nothing wrong. Then, he went into the first-floor bedroom and saw a sheet pulled over the bed where the Stillinger laid. A hand fell lifeless below it. He could smell a dreadful blend of copper and blood. Ross immediately ran out and told Peckham to call the town's marshal, to call everyone. One of Moore's workers, Ed Seeley, turned up to tend to his livestock, and Ross told him not to bother. "Something terrible has happened here," he said. Sometime after 8:40 a.m., the town's central telephone center issued an all-call alert, advising every household in town of the murders. Within minutes, the home became a full-blown spectacle. The county coroner, Dr. Lindquist, arrived at the scene of the crime at approximately 9 a.m. After viewing the scene himself, he later met with Horton, who had been the town's night watchman that Sunday, and Sheriff Orrin Jackson, to review the information they had collected. Although Lindquist called members of the coroner's jury together in late afternoon, it was several hours later before they entered the Moore home to view the bodies. After 10 p.m., he called County Attorney Ratcliffe to finally give permission to the undertaker to remove them. The fire station had been set up as a temporary morgue, and it was close to 2 a.m. before all the bodies had been transported there. Early 20th century lacked forensic technology common now. Even rudimentary evidence collection, such as fingerprints, was not widely used. Based on initial estimates, doctors estimated the murders occurred between midnight and 2 a.m. The victims' autopsies revealed all died from severe head injuries. After reconstructing the events of the night, the investigation focused primarily on gathering statements from neighbors and townspeople. They ruled out burglary as a motive. JB's wallet with cash was left untouched. Both of the Stillinger girls' bodies had been moved after they died. Lena's body had also been moved and her undergarments removed. Her leg had been positioned so reveal her genitalia. Despite the lack of undergarments, Lena did not appear to have been molested. In the barn, investigators found an imprint in the hay in the barn next to a knothole, where they believe the killer observed the family for some time. 2 spent cigarettes found in the attic suggested the murderer could have entered the house via a window or unlocked back door and hid until the family returned from church. 2 curious bits of evidence were uncovered. A gas lamp with its glass chimney removed and its wick turned down so it would give off only the faintest bit of light was discovered upstairs. A fragment of a keychain not belonging to the Moores was found downstairs. After this limited investigation, the coroner held an inquest the next day, June 11, 1912. Several suspects emerged almost immediately. Although no one was ever convicted of the Villisca murders, there seemed to be no shortage of suspects. In the days following the crimes, you could have read about at least 4 possibilities in any edition of the newspaper. Many of the leads, however, were quickly exhausted, and as time wore on, began to dwindle. Today, those who have studied the AXE murders extensively seem to be made up of 3 camps. There are many who, to this day, believe Frank Jones, the prominent Villisca resident and Iowa state senator who Moore had worked for, was responsible. Others adamantly insist that the crazed Reverend George Kelly was the culprit. In the third group are those who believe the Moore murders were work of serial killer, someone totally unrelated to the town. The crime sent shockwaves beyond the tight-knit community of Villisca. At the time, it divided the population, mostly over those who continued to believe that Frank Jones was behind the crime. Moore's previous boss was a prominent member of the United Methodist Church, so those who believed his guilt left that congregation to join the Presbyterian Church. Over time, it left a cultural and economic stain, with the name of the town forever entwined with the grisly crime. The murders occurred close to the apex of Villisca's economic prosperity. Over the next 90 years, the house at 508 East 2nd Street had 13 owners. It experienced long periods of vacancy and then fell into disrepair until it was purchased on New Year's Day 1994 by Rick and Vicky Sprague. That's when Lynn decided to buy the house. Lynn's second job was as a historian. He and his wife Martha co-owned the Olson Lynn Museum in the city. Intrigued by the history of the house, Lynn made the lowest offer. To his surprise, the Sprague's agent called him months later to accept the offer. Once his wife recovered from the shock of learning she was now co-owner of one of the most notorious homes in America, the two historians set about getting the funds to restore the home to its original condition at the time of the murders. This proved to be no small task. Sometime between 1936 and 1994, the house underwent quite numerous changes. The front and back porches were closed in, plumbing and electricity were added. Over the following 90 years, the Villisca Axe Murder House had 7 additional owners, including the Villisca State Savings and Loan, whose company name appears on the title from 1963 to 1971. In 1971, the house was titled to Kendrick and Vance, and only a month later retitled to Darwin Kendrick. Mr. Kendrick remained the name on the title until the house was sold again to Rick and Vicky Sprague on January 1st, 1994. It was only a few months later that a real estate agent approached Darwin Lynn in hopes of interesting him in the property. At the time, the Lynns owned and operated the Olson Lynn Museum, located on the town square in downtown Villisca. The house on Lot 310 was in danger of being razed had Darwin not decided to purchase it. Darwin originally lowballed an offer on the property, told the agent it would expire at midnight on the 1st of the year, and promptly forgot about it. Needless to say, he was a little surprised when the call came just before the deadline, and he became the proud owner of one of the notorious crime scenes in the country. It took him a few months to confide in his wife, and after Martha recovered from the shock, they set about obtaining the necessary funds to restore the home to its original condition at the time of the Villisca Axe Murders of 1912.